A 2021 study from Harvard found that drinking the wrong type of milk increases your risk of hip fractures by 52% and dementia by nearly 47%. And yet over 99% of Americans over 65 are still drinking these milks every single day, without knowing what it's doing to their bones, their joints, or their brain. You think milk is healthy? Think again. Because while some types quietly destroy your body from the inside out, there are 4 specific kinds that actually reverse the damage, rebuild your bones, and even protect your memory well into your 80s. You're about to find out exactly which milks to avoid at all costs and which ones you must drink daily to stay strong, sharp, and independent. But before we dive into the full list, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Senior Life, your go-to channel for staying healthy after 60. What are you waiting for? Let's uncover the 4 types of milk seniors must absolutely avoid. The first milk to avoid: ultra-pasteurized A1 cow milk. Did you know that one common type of milk, the kind in most American refrigerators, may increase your risk of dementia, joint pain, and early aging after 60? Most milk sold in the U.S., especially ultra-pasteurized cow's milk, comes from Holstein cows, which produce a protein called A1 beta-casein. Now, A1 beta-casein breaks down into a substance called beta-casomorphin 7, BCM7, in your gut. According to research published in the National Institutes of Health, NIH, and the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, BCM7 is linked to inflammation in the digestive tract and delayed cognitive processing, especially in older adults. A 2016 randomized clinical trial published in Nutrition Journal found that participants drinking A1 milk had higher markers of gut inflammation, more bloating, and significantly slower reaction times on memory tests compared to those drinking A2 milk. Let that sink in. The milk you drink could be making your brain slower. Here's where it gets worse. Ultra-pasteurized milk is heated to 238 for just 2 seconds, a method used to extend shelf life. But according to a 2020 USDA food processing report, this process destroys over 50% of the natural lactase enzyme denatures, heat-sensitive proteins, and kills off beneficial bacteria that help with digestion and nutrient absorption. This means that even if you're not lactose intolerant, your body has to work much harder to process this kind of milk, especially if you're over 60, when digestive enzyme production naturally declines by 30 to 40%. Journal of Gerontology, 2018. No wonder seniors complain of stomach cramps, gas, and fatigue after a glass of healthy milk. Let's talk additives. The FDA allows dairy farmers to use recombinant bovine growth hormone, RBGH, and preventive antibiotics in many U.S. dairy herds. These substances end up in trace amounts in your milk. Studies from Harvard School of Public Health and the Endocrine Society show that exposure to hormone residues in milk, especially estrogen and IGF-1, may increase the risk of prostate and breast cancer, hormonal imbalance, and immune dysfunction, particularly in older adults with slower detox systems. And remember, seniors are already more vulnerable to endocrine shifts. This just adds fuel to the fire. Ironically, the milk that's supposed to protect your bones may be doing the opposite. A large-scale 2014 cohort study in the BMJ British Medical Journal, which tracked over 61,000 women and 45,000 men, found that high milk consumption was associated with higher rates of bone fractures and mortality, particularly among older adults. Why researchers believe the galactose content in milk combined with A1 protein and high-temperature pasteurization increases oxidative stress and chronic inflammation, weakening bones over time. That's the opposite of what most seniors are told about milk. Let's go even deeper. Telomeres are like protective caps at the end of your chromosomes. The shorter they get, the faster you age. A study from the University of California, San Francisco, UCSF, published in the American Journal of Epidemiology, found that people who drank more high-fat, ultra-processed dairy had significantly shorter telomeres, a marker of biological aging. For seniors, that can mean accelerated physical decline, reduced immunity, and even early-onset cognitive impairment. So yes, the wrong milk can age you faster. Here's what I recommend to my older patients, and I follow this advice too. Switch to A2 milk. It's easier on your gut, doesn't produce BCM7, and has been shown to reduce inflammation. Avoid ultra-pasteurization. Choose local or organic milk that's pasteurized below 165 degrees Fahrenheit. Look for low-temp pasteurized or VAT pasteurized on the label. Go plant-based smartly. Try unsweetened almond flax or oat milk fortified with calcium and vitamin D. Just avoid added sugars or oils. Add probiotics and enzymes. A small serving of kefir or goat yogurt a few times a week can boost gut health and digestion, especially if you're over 60. Listen to your body. Bloating, brain fog, or joint pain after milk. That's your body speaking. Don't ignore it. The 2 milk to avoid oat milk without added micronutrients. Most people switch to oat milk because it's plant-based and dairy-free. But if you're drinking unfortified oat milk, you're missing out on 2 of the most critical nutrients for people over 50: calcium and vitamin D. According to the USDA Food Data Central, 1 cup of plain oat milk without fortification provides calcium as low as 1%, 2% of the recommended daily value. Vitamin D virtually 0 IU. Meanwhile, the National Institutes of Health (NIH) recommends that adults over 65 need at least 1,200 milligrams of calcium and 800 to 1,000 IU of vitamin D per day. Calcium and vitamin D are not optional. They help maintain bone density, prevent falls and fractures, support immune function, and muscle strength. So when seniors replace dairy with unfortified oat milk, they may think they're doing something healthy, but instead, they're removing 2 foundational nutrients without replacing them. And here's the real-world consequence. In a 2022 CDC report, it was estimated that over 54 million adults in the U.S. have osteoporosis or low bone mass, and calcium and vitamin D deficiencies are major contributors. The risk doubles for women after menopause and men over 70. Let's talk about phytic acid, which naturally occurs in oats. According to research published in the Journal of Food Science and Technology, phytic acid binds to minerals like calcium, iron, zinc, magnesium. It forms insoluble complexes that your body cannot absorb. This is especially concerning for older adults who already face up to 30% less efficient mineral absorption due to aging gut function. Journal of Gerontology, 2018. That means even if you're eating healthy spinach nuts, beans drinking unfortified oat milk may be blocking your ability to absorb their nutrients. One of my patients, Alan, 69, from Oregon, was following a plant-based diet with daily oat milk, but still had low magnesium, low iron, and early signs of osteopenia. Once we switched to fortified milk and added fermented foods, his blood work normalized in 8 weeks. Most people don't realize that oat milk, even the unsweetened kind, is naturally high in starch-derived carbs. Here's what the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health and Cleveland Clinic have noted: a standard cup of oat milk contains 15 to 20 grams of carbohydrates. These carbs are rapidly digested and can spike blood sugar, especially risky for older adults with prediabetes or insulin resistance. A 2021 study in the Journal of Nutrition and Healthy Aging showed that post-meal glucose spikes in seniors increase the risk of inflammation fatigue and cognitive decline. And let's be honest, most people don't drink oat milk plain. It's in cereal smoothies or coffee, adding to a carb-heavy breakfast that sends your blood sugar roller coastering all morning. Unfortified oat milk, especially when homemade or mass-produced without enzymes, contains beta-glucans and fermentable fibers that some older adults can't break down well. That leads to bloating, gas, loose stools, indigestion. The Mayo Clinic confirms that older adults are more sensitive to fermentable carbs, particularly when gut bacteria are imbalanced due to age medication or low stomach acid. Karen, 74, from Minnesota, thought her bloating was just part of aging. But when we paused her unfortified oat milk and added a probiotic plus fortified almond milk, her symptoms cleared within a week. In 2019, a CDC National Nutrition Survey found that 41% of Americans over age 60 are deficient in vitamin D, over 35% have inadequate calcium intake, 1 in 4 seniors is borderline magnesium deficient. Many of them were using natural milk alternatives, like homemade oat milk, without understanding the need for fortified options. So even when the diet looks clean on paper, seniors may be developing quiet deficiencies that lead to muscle weakness, fragile bones, brain fog, fatigue, immune decline. These symptoms often get dismissed as just getting older, when in fact they're reversible. As a doctor and someone in my late 60s, I always give this advice to my patients and my own family. Check the label. Only buy oat milk with at least 25% calcium and 20% vitamin D3 per cup. If the label is vague, skip it. Avoid homemade oat milk unless you know how to balance it. If you love DIY, pair it with mineral-rich foods like sardines, tahini, or fortified tofu. Limit oat milk to 1 cup per day if you're worried about blood sugar or bloating. Rotate with other options like fortified almond flax or soy milk, which are often lower in carbs and higher in added nutrients. Add in probiotics like kefir sauerkraut or probiotic capsules, especially if you notice digestive issues. Coming in at 3, sweetened almond milk. Just a few months ago, Nancy, 67, from Florida came to my office with complaints of weight gain, fatigue, and joint stiffness. She'd switched from dairy to almond milk, thinking it was healthier. But when I asked what brand she was drinking, she said, "Oh, just regular almond milk, vanilla flavored. I thought it was good for me." The truth: she was drinking sweetened almond milk, and it was quietly making things worse. Let's start with the sugar. Most sweetened almond milks contain 7 to 12 grams of added sugar per cup, sometimes listed as cane sugar fructose or evaporated cane juice. That's 2 to 3 teaspoons of sugar in every single glass. Now here's the danger for older adults. According to a 2022 study in the Journal of Nutrition and Aging Diets, high in added sugar were linked to a 39% higher risk of insulin resistance, increased belly fat, and chronic fatigue, especially in adults over 60. And it's not just about blood sugar. Excess sugar promotes inflammation, which worsens joint pain and can even trigger flare-ups in conditions like osteoarthritis and rheumatoid arthritis. So if your knees or fingers are aching more than usual and you're drinking flavored almond milk, it might not be a coincidence. Now here's the part that surprises most people. Sweetened almond milk is mostly not almonds. If you check the label, you'll often see contains 2% or less of almonds. The rest, it's mostly water thickeners, flavoring agents, and sugar. You might be drinking it thinking you're getting the nutrients of almonds, fiber, vitamin E, healthy fats, but in reality, you're getting a sugary flavored beverage with barely any almond benefits. In fact, one report from Consumer Reports 2021 found that most leading almond milk brands had less than 5 actual almonds per cup. So ask yourself, would you ever take 5 almonds, mix them with 2 teaspoons of sugar, and call it healthy. Let's talk about long-term risks for seniors. The American Journal of Clinical Nutrition reports that excess sugar consumption in older adults contributes to fatigue and poor sleep, declining memory, increased visceral fat, the deep belly fat linked to heart disease, impaired immune function. Richard, 70, from Wisconsin, told me he was doing everything right, but he was drinking sweetened almond milk in his cereal and smoothies daily. When we switched him to an unsweetened fortified version and added fiber to his breakfast, he lost 6 pounds in 2 months and said his energy finally came back. So here's what I recommend. Always read the label. If the first or second ingredient is sugar, skip it. Look for unsweetened almond milk, ideally with added calcium and vitamin D, 25–30% daily value. Avoid artificial vanilla or chocolate flavors. They're often just sugar and scent. If you need a little sweetness, add a slice of banana or a few berries yourself, that way you get fiber with it. Make your own almond milk at home, using real almonds water and optional cinnamon or vanilla bean, no sugar needed. At 4 on the list, to avoid flavored lactose-free milk. A few weeks ago, John, 72, from Arizona, came to me feeling constantly tired. He said, "Doc, I've cut out dairy. I'm only drinking lactose-free milk now." When I asked what kind, he said, "The chocolate one, it's delicious." That's when I knew we had a problem. Here's the truth: flavored lactose-free milk, like the chocolate vanilla or strawberry kinds, can be loaded with hidden sugars and artificial ingredients. 1 cup of flavored lactose-free milk often contains 18 to 22 grams of sugar. That's more sugar than a scoop of ice cream, and most people don't even realize it. According to a 2022 study in the Journal of Endocrine Health, adults who regularly consumed high-sugar dairy beverages showed a 41% spike in insulin levels and increased abdominal fat, a dangerous combo that raises the risk of type 2 diabetes and heart disease, especially in older adults. Worse, this kind of insulin surge often leads to energy crashes, cravings, and chronic fatigue, exactly what John was experiencing. But it's not just the sugar. Let's talk about what's added to make that milk taste so good. Flavored lactose-free milk is often filled with artificial sweeteners like sucralose, thickeners and stabilizers like carrageenan, flavoring agents, and food dyes. Studies from the National Institutes of Health and Harvard School of Public Health show that sucralose may alter insulin sensitivity and gut microbiome. Carrageenan is linked to gut inflammation and may trigger joint pain in some adults. Artificial flavors and preservatives may interfere with thyroid function, especially in older women. Patricia, 68, from Ohio, came to me complaining of new joint stiffness and bloating. She was drinking vanilla lactose-free milk with breakfast every morning. We cut it out for just 2 weeks, and both her swelling and digestion improved significantly. Now I understand why many people choose these products. Lactose-free milk helps those with lactose intolerance. That's great. But when it's full of chocolate syrup, vanilla flavoring, and lab-made sweeteners, it becomes less of a healthy drink, and more of a dessert in disguise. That's not what your bones, joints, or metabolism need after 60. So what should you do instead? If you need lactose-free milk, choose the plain, unsweetened version. Look for no added sugar and minimal ingredient lists. Sweeten naturally a dash of cinnamon or blend with real fruit like banana. If you like chocolate flavor, add 1 or 2 teaspoons of unsweetened cocoa powder and a few drops of stevia. And always read the ingredient list. The fewer, the better. And now, let's get to the most anticipated part of today: 4 types of milk seniors should be drinking. The one milk to pay attention to: goat milk. It has smaller fat globules and a different type of casein protein than cow's milk. That makes it less inflammatory and much gentler on the gut. In fact, a study in the British Journal of Nutrition found that older adults who drank goat milk for 8 weeks saw a 26% drop in gut inflammation markers. That's huge, especially if you're dealing with IBS constipation or sensitive digestion. Susan told me that within 2 weeks her stomach felt calmer and the daily bloating was almost gone. Goat milk is rich in essential minerals for aging bones and immune defense. Each cup naturally contains more calcium than cow's milk, high levels of phosphorus and zinc, plus selenium, which boosts immune strength. That combo supports bone strength, crucial for fall prevention after 65. Wound healing. Immune resilience, especially important as we age, and our white blood cell function slows down. And because goat milk is naturally alkaline and less acidic than cow's milk, it doesn't leach calcium from your bones the way soda or coffee can. Now let's talk about inflammation, the silent enemy of aging. Chronic inflammation can show up as achy joints, poor sleep, mental fog, slower healing, low energy. Many of my patients don't realize their cow's milk habit may be fueling it. But goat milk, much lower in A1 casein, which is often linked to gut and joint flare-ups in older adults. Tom, 68, from Ohio, switched to goat milk and told me, "My knees haven't felt this good in 10 years. That's not magic. That's biochemistry working in your favor." Here's what I recommend. If you're over 60, start small, 1 or 2 cup of goat milk with breakfast or in your coffee. Look for unsweetened pasture-raised goat milk, ideally from local or organic farms. If it's hard to find, goat yogurt or kefir are great options too. Avoid flavored versions with added sugars. You don't want to undo the anti-inflammatory benefits. Pair with magnesium-rich foods, like almonds or spinach, to support bone density. The 2 milk, to pay attention to pure A2 cow milk. Regular cow's milk contains 2 main proteins, A1 and A2 beta-casein. But many people, especially those over 60, can't digest A1 beta-casein properly. It creates a compound called BCM7 in the gut, which studies show can trigger inflammation, slow digestion, and even affect brain function. A 2021 clinical study in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that switching from A1 to A2 milk reduced digestive symptoms by 64%, improved memory recall, decreased joint discomfort, especially in older adults. And because A2 milk doesn't produce BCM7, it's much easier on the gut and brain. It's also about what is. A2 whole milk still gives you the full nutrition profile of real dairy, including calcium for stronger bones, vitamin D for immune health and mood, vitamin B12 critical for nerve function and energy, iodine which supports your thyroid, especially important after 60. That means you're still getting everything good from milk without the stuff that causes problems. Here's something most people don't know. The quality of milk also depends on how it's processed. Look for full-fat A2 milk from grass-fed cows and avoid ultra-pasteurized brands. Ultra-high heat can destroy enzymes and damage some nutrients. You want milk that's lightly pasteurized, ideally under 165 degrees Celsius. The label might say vat pasteurized or low temp. I tell my patients, the closer to the cow, the better it is for your gut. So who can benefit most from A2 milk? Seniors with gas, bloating, or constipation. People with mild lactose sensitivity, but not full intolerance. Anyone with stiff joints, poor sleep, or brain fog after milk adults who want real dairy without the side effects. Janice, 68, from Michigan had tried plant-based milks, but felt weak and dizzy. After switching to A2 whole milk, she told me, "I feel stronger, more grounded, and no more rushing to the bathroom." If you're over 60, here's what I recommend. Start with 1–2 cup of A2 milk in your morning coffee or oatmeal. Look for labels that say 100% A2 and grass-fed. Choose full-fat helps you absorb vitamins A, D, E, and Keys A. Avoid chocolate or flavored A2 milk too much sugar. Pair with a light breakfast for better digestion. The 3 milk, to pay attention to unsweetened almond milk with added calcium. A few months ago, Barbara, 69, from Virginia came in with 2 major complaints: stiff knees in the morning and blood sugar swings that left her exhausted by noon. She wasn't overweight, didn't eat fast food, and thought she was doing everything right. But she was still using sweetened dairy creamers in her coffee and milk in her oatmeal. I suggested she switch to unsweetened almond milk, fortified with calcium, vitamin D, and magnesium. 10 weeks later, her labs looked better, and she smiled and said, "My mornings feel 20 years younger." Unsweetened almond milk is naturally low in carbs, lactose-free, free from casein, the dairy protein that may trigger inflammation in some seniors. That's a powerful combo, especially if you're dealing with type 2 diabetes, arthritis, or digestive sensitivity. A 2021 study in the Journal of Geriatric Nutrition showed that older adults who replaced dairy milk with fortified unsweetened almond milk saw a 32% reduction in joint stiffness, more stable blood sugar throughout the day, and better digestion thanks to the lighter fat and protein structure. Not all almond milk is the same. You need to choose one that's fortified with calcium, 25–30% vitamin D, at least 20%, and magnesium, especially after 60. These nutrients help strengthen bones. Calcium plus vitamin D work as a team. Relax muscles and ease nerve pain. Magnesium is key here. Support immune health and balance mood, critical as we age. If your almond milk has none of these added, you're basically drinking almond-flavored water. Let's talk practical benefits. If you're diabetic or pre-diabetic, unsweetened almond milk won't spike your blood sugar. If you have arthritis, no lactose or casein means less inflammation. If you're trying to lose weight, it's only 30–40 calories per cup, depending on the brand. If dairy upsets your stomach, this is gentler, cleaner, and easier to digest. I've had patients like Joe, 72, from Texas tell me, "Since switching, I'm not as puffy in the mornings, and my blood sugar stopped crashing at 11 a.m. So here's what I recommend. Read the label. Go for unsweetened, not original or vanilla. Make sure it lists calcium, vitamin D, and magnesium on the nutrition panel. Stick to 1 cup per meal. More doesn't mean better. Don't mix with sugary cereals. Pair it with oats, nuts, or whole grains. Shake before using. The good stuff sometimes settles at the bottom. The final spot, fermented kefir milk. If you're over 60 and still skipping probiotics, kefir might be the single best drink you're not using for your bones, your gut, and even your arteries. Let me tell you why. A while ago, Linda, 67, from Oregon, came in complaining about bone loss, bloating, and low energy. She had tried yogurt fiber powders, even vitamin D pills, but nothing helped long-term. We added just half a cup of plain kefir to her breakfast each day. And after 3 months, her D3 absorption went up, her digestion smoothed out, and her bone scan showed signs of stabilization. Here's what makes kefir different and better than regular yogurt. First, it contains up to 3x more probiotic strains. We're talking about 30+ strains of beneficial bacteria and yeast, way more than most commercial yogurts. A 2021 study published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition found that seniors who consumed kefir daily had a 33% increase in gut microbiome diversity, which is directly linked to better immune function, reduced inflammation, improved vitamin D absorption, which becomes critical after age 60. That means kefir doesn't just help your gut, it makes the rest of your nutrients work better too. Now here's something you might not know. Kefir is also one of the richest natural sources of vitamin K2. Why does that matter? Because vitamin K2 guides calcium into your bones and away from your arteries. That's a huge deal for seniors who want strong bones and a healthy heart. In fact, a 2020 trial in Bone Reports found that postmenopausal women who drank kefir saw a 45% slower loss of spinal bone density compared to those who didn't. That's not marketing hype, that's clinical data. I've had male patients benefit too. Tom, 71, from Pennsylvania, used to wake up with stiffness in his back and knees. He thought it was arthritis or old age. Turned out his gut was imbalanced and he wasn't absorbing key nutrients. We added kefir and reduced his ultra-pasteurized dairy. Within a month, his mornings felt looser and lighter. Here's what I recommend. If you're over 60, go for plain unsweetened kefir. Flavored ones often sneak in sugar. Start with 1 to 2 cups per day, ideally in the morning with breakfast. If dairy is a problem, try goat milk, kefir, or coconut milk kefir. Pair with a calcium-rich meal, like leafy greens, tahini, or sardines. Shake well kefir separates naturally, and that's normal. So let's bring it all together. If you're over 60, it's time to rethink your milk. The ones to avoid ultra-pasteurized A1 cow milk, sweetened almond milk, flavored lactose-free milk, and unfortified oat milk. These can quietly fuel inflammation, joint pain, and even blood sugar crashes. But the good news: there are better choices. Go for A2 grass-fed milk, fortified unsweetened almond milk, plain kefir, and goat milk. Each one supports stronger bones, better digestion, and steady energy throughout the day. It's a simple shift, but it could change how you feel every single morning. If this spoke to you, now's the time to act. Check your fridge, read the label, make the switch that your body's been waiting for. And if you found this helpful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Senior Life. We're here to help you stay strong, sharp, and independent, one tip at a time. After 60, your body doesn't bounce back the way it used to. In fact, a single wrong move could land you in the ER. Yet every day across the U.S., thousands of seniors unknowingly perform exercises that put their knees back and even their heart at serious risk. According to Harvard Health and the CDC, certain workouts like high-impact cardio or deep squats increase fall risk joint injuries and even spinal damage. And sadly, many of these risky moves are still being promoted in gyms, senior centers, and YouTube videos. So today, we're pulling back the curtain. I'll reveal 7 dangerous exercises older adults should avoid and exactly why they can do more harm than good. These are based on real clinical data, orthopedic research, and 40-plus years of experience treating aging bodies. But before we dive in, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Senior Life, your trusted channel for safer, smarter senior wellness. Now let's explore 7 exercises seniors over 60 should avoid. Exercise 1. Running on a treadmill at high speed. Running fast on a treadmill after 60. It's not just risky. It could quietly be setting you up for a fall, a fracture, or even permanent mobility loss. As a physician who's spent over 4 decades working with aging adults, I get it. Many seniors still feel strong. They want to stay active, and that's a good thing. But here's the truth. Staying active doesn't mean staying reckless, especially on a machine like a treadmill, where one wrong move can have devastating consequences. A study from Harvard Health Publishing reported that high treadmill speeds significantly increase fall risk in adults over 65, particularly those with arthritis, neuropathy, or balance issues. Falls are already the leading cause of injury and death among seniors in the U.S., according to the CDC. The stats are alarming. Seniors have a 1 in 4 chance of falling each year, CDC. After age 65, a fall quadruples your risk of hip fracture. A hip fracture leads to hospitalization in 95% of cases, and 1 in 5 seniors will die within a year due to complications. And most of these falls don't happen outside on icy sidewalks. They happen at home, often on treadmills, or during routine indoor activity. Let's take a closer look at treadmills. While walking slowly is generally safe, increasing the speed above 5-6 mph turns it into a high-impact, fast-reaction activity. And the problem is, most treadmills remove natural body cues. There are no curbs, no bumps, no subtle visual feedback, just a flat-moving surface that punishes hesitation. Here's the issue. As we age, the brain's vestibular system, which controls balance, starts to decline. Vision worsens. Reaction time slows. Combine that with a fast-moving belt and poor posture, and you're one distraction away from a fall. I saw this with one of my patients, Harold, age 67. Still lean active, no major health problems. He'd been running 5 mph daily for years, until one day he slipped mid-stride, broke his wrist trying to catch himself, and needed shoulder surgery from the fall. He told me afterward, "Doc, I thought I was just doing what I always did. I didn't realize my body wasn't reacting like it used to." This isn't an isolated case. A report from the American Journal of Preventive Medicine noted a 65% increase in treadmill-related injuries among adults 60+ over the past decade, and these aren't minor sprains. We're talking head trauma fractures and joint dislocations. But let's talk solutions, because giving up exercise is not the answer. Walk at a moderate incline instead of running. Set the treadmill to 2.55-3.5 tonvech with a 3% incline. That engages muscles and raises heart rate safely with lower impact. Hold the rails only at the start or end. Leaning on them while walking creates poor posture and trains your body to depend on external support. Try split sessions. Do 10 to 15 minutes of treadmill walking, then switch to off-machine exercises like standing leg lifts, resistance bands, or gentle stretching. Don't skip warm-ups and cool-downs. Stiff joints and cold muscles increase your risk of injury. Spend 3 to 5 minutes warming up before walking and stretch after. Reassess your shoes. Treadmill shoes should have strong heel support, low slip risk, and 0 worn treads. Seniors often forget to replace shoes regularly. This matters. Alternate with outdoor walking. Your eyes, brain, and feet benefit from varied surfaces. Even walking at a mall or on grass helps retrain balance reflexes that treadmills ignore. Exercise 2 sit-ups. I've treated seniors for over 40 years, and one of the most common sources of long-term back pain I see repeated sit-ups, especially the old-school kind done by people who thought they were keeping their core strong. Let me be clear, strengthening your core is important. But not all core exercises are created equal, and sit-ups come with hidden risks, particularly for aging adults. According to the American Council on Exercise ACE, traditional sit-ups and crunches place excessive pressure on the cervical spine, your neck, and the lumbar spine, your lower back. They compress the vertebrae and can gradually wear down the discs, especially if you're doing them on hard surfaces or with bad form. A study published in the Journal of Orthopedic and Sports Physical Therapy found that repetitive spinal flexion, like what happens during sit-ups, increases the risk of herniated discs, especially in older adults whose discs are already dehydrated and fragile due to age. One of my patients, Barbara, 66, came in complaining of burning lower back pain after she joined a Silver Abs Challenge at her local gym. She was doing 50 crunches a day for 3 weeks straight. When we ran imaging, we found early signs of disc bulge at L4-L5, the classic site of age-related spinal issues. When you do a sit-up, you're not just working your abs, you're pulling on your hip flexors, rounding your spine, and compressing the discs between your vertebrae. And after 60, those discs are thinner, less hydrated, and far more prone to injury. And here's the part nobody talks about: most seniors strain their neck without even realizing it. They pull their head forward with their hands, causing small, repeated trauma to the upper spine. Over time, that equals chronic neck pain, or even nerve pinching. So what's the alternative? You don't need to give up on core strength. You just need smarter movements. Try a modified plank. Even just holding a wall plank or countertop plank for 20-30 seconds engages your deep core without compressing the spine. Do dead bug exercises on a soft surface. Lie on your back, arms, and legs in the air and lower opposite limbs while keeping your back flat. It's gentle and extremely effective for core control. Seated leg lifts or bird dog holds on hands and knees are also excellent options. They challenge your balance work, the transverse abdominis, your deep core, and don't overload the spine. Add breathing and posture training. Simply sitting tall, engaging your core, and breathing through your diaphragm improves stability far more than painful crunches ever will. Now here's another exercise that's very risky for seniors. Exercise 3 deep squats. Let's get this straight: squatting itself is not bad. But deep squats, where your hips drop below the knees, can be dangerous, especially as the body ages. According to the National Institutes of Health, NIH, deep squats place significant mechanical stress on the knee joint, especially the anterior cruciate ligament, ACL, and meniscus cartilage. When you pass the 90-degree bend, particularly beyond 60 degrees, the force on the knee ligaments and cartilage increases sharply. A 2021 study in the Journal of Biomechanics found that deep squats generate more than 5.5 times body weight of compressive force on the tibiofemoral joint. In comparison, half squats, about 45 degrees, generated just 2.7 times body weight, a significant difference for older joints. The American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, AAOS, also warns that deep squatting in individuals with arthritis or reduced cartilage padding can speed up joint degradation, leading to early knee replacement. And that's no small thing. According to the CDC, over 32.5 million Americans have osteoarthritis, with the knee joint being the most commonly affected. Among those aged 60+, nearly 40% experience some form of knee degeneration. Let me tell you about one of my patients, Greg, 72. Greg was active, walked every day, and never had major injuries. One day, his granddaughter challenged him to join her in a 30-day deep squat challenge she saw on TikTok. At first, it felt fine. But by day 18, Greg started having stabbing pain in his right knee. By day 25, he couldn't bend it without wincing. We ordered an MRI, and sure enough, a partial tear in the medial meniscus, plus swelling and signs of cartilage thinning. Greg asked me, "Doc, how did I go from squats to surgery?" The answer? His knees simply weren't built for that load anymore. Here's why deep squats become riskier with age: joint cartilage thins out. After age 60, cartilage loses water and becomes more brittle, making it less able to absorb impact. Meniscus tissue shrinks. That spongy pad between the thigh bone and shin bone wears down, reducing shock absorption. Muscle support weakens, especially in the glutes and hamstrings, which are critical for controlling knee alignment during squats. Balance declines, leading to improper form, forward knee shifts, or even falling backward when squatting deep. Add it all up, and you've got a recipe for chronic pain degeneration or a surgical consult. But here's the good news. You don't need to give up squats. You just need to squat smarter. Use the 45-60 degree rule. Squatting just halfway down is still effective. It targets your thighs, glutes, and core with far less strain on your knees. Try sit-to-stand squats. Using a sturdy chair behind you, lower yourself down and stand back up slowly. It mimics the squat motion in a safe, real-life way. Warm up your joints. Joint lubrication improves with 5 to 10 minutes of gentle movement before squatting. Think leg swings walking or light resistance bands. Watch your knee alignment. Knees should stay behind your toes and never cave inward. Keep feet flat on the floor, hip width apart. Skip weights at first. Body weight is more than enough. If you feel strong later on, add a resistance band or hold light dumbbells. Listen to your knees. A little soreness is okay. Sharp pain, clicking, swelling afterward. That's your body saying, back off. Exercise 4 heavy leg press. Now I get it. Everyone wants strong legs, especially as we age. But let's talk honestly, leg press with heavy weight is one of the most dangerous lower body exercises for seniors when done improperly or with too much load. The motion may look safe. After all, you're sitting down. The machine is stable. But the truth is, leg press transfers enormous force into your knees, hips, and lower back, especially when you're pressing heavy weight at deep angles. The American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, AAOS, recommends older adults should not leg press more than 50% of their body weight, and that's with perfect form and healthy joints. Beyond that, the compression on the lumbar spine and knee joints increases sharply, particularly during the lowest phase of the movement. According to a study published in the Journal of Strength and Conditioning, research leg pressing at or above 80% of body weight can generate up to 10 times body weight in joint reaction force, most of it absorbed by the knees and lower back. And guess what? The older the spine, the less cushioning it has. The older the knee, the more likely that cartilage has thinned. Let me give you a real example. One of my patients, Jerry, 66, used to be a high school football coach. He stayed in shape and prided himself on still lifting like a man. He started leg pressing at his local gym, 200 pounds, then 250, then 300. He felt strong. Until he didn't. 2 weeks in, he noticed a sharp, burning pain down his right leg after workouts. Turns out he had aggravated a bulging disc in his lower back, all because of the angle and load on that leg press machine. He told me, "Doc, I thought because I was sitting down, I was safe." Nope, not at that weight, and not at that age. Let's break it down simply. When you press a heavy load from a seated position with your knees bent deep, it compresses the discs in your lower spine and forces your knees to bear the brunt of the movement. This is especially risky if your lower back isn't well supported, you lock your knees at the top, or your feet are placed too low on the platform, which shifts pressure to the knees. And here's the kicker. Most seniors don't even feel the damage right away. The wear and tear builds silently until one day a disc slips or a knee swells up, and you're out for months. So what's the safer approach? Keep the weight low. If you're over 60, stay under 50% of your body weight for leg presses. Even 30–40% is plenty to build strength without harm. Limit your range of motion. Don't let your knees come too close to your chest. It rounds your lower back and spikes pressure. Keep your feet high and wide. A wider stance with feet higher on the platform distributes pressure across hips and glutes, not just knees. Slow, controlled reps. Avoid explosive thrusts. Control the descent, and don't lock out your knees at the top. Use alternative exercises. Try wall sits, bodyweight squats to a chair, or resistance band leg presses lying flat, all safer options for aging joints. Exercise 5 push-ups with jump plyo push-ups. If you're over 60 and still doing burpees, push-up jump repeat, you might be stressing your heart and joints way more than you realize. Now don't get me wrong, burpees are a classic. They work your whole body, no equipment needed, great for burning calories. But let me be real with you. They're also one of the most intense and high-impact movements in the fitness world, and they're not designed for older joints, slower reflexes, or aging hearts. According to Johns Hopkins Medicine, explosive exercises like burpees can trigger sudden spikes in blood pressure and heart rate, especially in older adults with hidden cardiovascular issues. Not only that, the fast transitions from floor to jump put people at high risk of dizziness, missteps, or even falls, especially if they have arthritis, poor balance, or joint degeneration. A study published in the Journal of Aging and Physical Activity found that dynamic full-body movements like burpees led to a 42% higher fall risk in older adults compared to controlled bodyweight exercises. And the more tired you get, the worse your form gets. That's when the injuries start. Burpees involve a fast drop to a push-up, a quick thrust back to standing, and an explosive jump into the air. That's 3 impact-heavy moves in one, performed rapidly, usually for time. Now imagine doing that with slower reaction times, stiffer joints, weaker cardiovascular recovery. Or previous injuries. Your body simply can't adjust as quickly as it used to, and forcing it to try can trigger a cascade of problems. Not just falls or twisted knees, but also heart palpitations, blood pressure spikes, and severe joint inflammation. So what should you do instead? Break the movement into parts. Do slow push-ups on an elevated surface. Step back instead of jumping. Rise gently instead of jumping. Try a no-jump version. Step back into a plank hold for a breath, then step forward and stand. Still gets the heart rate up with far less stress. Add balance work instead of speed. Lunges, squats to a chair or side steps with light weights improve coordination without the fall risk. Watch your heart rate. If you feel dizzy, breathless, or your pulse is racing, stop. That's your body saying it needs a slower pace. Listen to your joints. If your knees, wrists, or back feel sore after or during, it's time to scale back. Let's move on to exercise 6, holding a plank for too long over 1 minute. In fact, according to the Cleveland Clinic, holding a plank longer than your body can handle often leads to wrist and shoulder strain, neck compression, and that shaky, trembling feeling, which means your form is breaking down. And once your form breaks, that core strengthening, move quickly, becomes a recipe for injury. Studies show that for most older adults, holding a proper plank for just 15-30 seconds at a time, repeated 2 or 3 times, gives you all the benefits with far fewer risks. Let me share the story of my patient Frank, 70 years old. Frank is in great shape for his age. He walks every day, does resistance band training, and loves staying active. One day he read an online article claiming that 5-minute planks are the ultimate test of core strength. So he tried, made it to 90 seconds before his arms gave out, and the next day he came in with shoulder pain and a stiff neck. We ran some checks and found inflammation around the rotator cuff and early signs of cervical strain. Frank looked at me and said, "I thought I was building strength. Turns out I was just grinding through pain." So what's actually happening during long planks? When you hold a plank too long, your shoulder muscles get over-fatigued. Your upper traps start to tense up, pulling your neck forward. And your core lets go, forcing other areas to compensate. And once your body compensates, whether it's your lower back sagging or your neck locking, you're no longer training smart. You're just holding on. Worse, for people over 60, disc dehydration and shoulder wear and tear are already common. Pushing through long static holds only makes those issues worse. So what should you do instead? Stick to shorter sets. Hold a plank for 15 to 30 seconds, rest, then repeat 2 to 3 times. It's just as effective and way safer. Use a wall or incline to reduce pressure. Planking on a countertop or against a wall is easier on the shoulders and neck, but still activates the core. Focus on quality, not time. A 20-second perfect plank is better than a 2-minute shaky, painful one. Good alignment vermurkt real progress. Breathe. Holding your breath during a plank tightens your neck and jaw. Focus on slow, steady breathing. Switch it up. Try side planks, bird dog holds, or even seated core engagement exercises if full planks are too taxing. Exercise 7. Inverted yoga poses like headstands or shoulder stands. These poses may look elegant, but they dramatically shift blood pressure, strain the neck, and increase fall risk, things that become dangerous as we age. According to the American Geriatrics Society, inversion poses are not recommended for older adults because they raise intracranial pressure inside the skull, can disrupt blood flow to and from the brain, increase the risk of falls and cervical spine injuries. A study from Johns Hopkins Medicine confirms that even healthy adults over 60 can experience temporary lightheadedness and blood pressure swings when performing inverted postures, especially if they already have cardiovascular issues or take blood pressure medications. Harvard Health Publishing warns that headstands can dangerously compress the cervical vertebrae, especially in people with osteoarthritis. Decreased bone density common in postmenopausal women, degenerative disc disease, or a history of spine or neck injuries, and according to the CDC, falls remain the leading cause of injury-related death in Americans over 65, combining unstable head-down postures with reduced balance and slower reflexes. That's a perfect storm. Here's what happens during an inversion. Venous blood rushes toward the brain, raising pressure in the eyes and skull. This can trigger headaches, visual disturbances, or even nosebleeds in sensitive individuals. Cervical vertebrae neck bones are compressed, especially dangerous for those with spinal stenosis or loss of disc height. The vestibular system, inner ear, is disrupted. Even a 10-15 second inversion can cause dizziness, disorientation, or nausea in older adults. Balance is compromised. Any slip or sudden shift during the pose can result in a fall, often with the neck or head taking the hit. So, what are better options? Skip full inversions altogether. Headstands, shoulder stands, and plow pose offer few unique benefits that can't be gained from safer movements. Use legs up the wall pose. This gentle supported posture elevates the legs to improve circulation without flipping the head below the heart. Try reclining bridge or pelvic tilts. They strengthen the lower body and core while keeping your head and heart aligned. Focus on breathwork and slow transitions. Yoga is about awareness, not contortion. Moving slowly from one pose to another protects aging joints and improves balance. Do yoga with a certified senior yoga instructor. These professionals are trained to offer modifications for common age-related limitations, like arthritis, osteoporosis, or vertigo. So if you're over 60, or even in your 50s, and preparing for the years ahead, now is the time to rethink how you move. Your body deserves exercise, yes, but it also deserves protection. Avoiding just a few high-risk exercises could mean fewer injuries, fewer hospital visits, and more years of independent, confident movement. So be smart. Train smarter, not harder. And most importantly, listen to your body before following advice made for younger people. If this helped you or someone you care about, please take a moment to like this video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to Senior Life. You never know that simple action might help someone avoid a fall or fracture, or even save a life. A new study from the Journal of the American Heart Association has left doctors stunned, revealing that older adults who consumed certain healthy fruits every day had a 27% higher risk of arterial calcification, the dangerous hardening of arteries that can directly lead to heart attacks. Yes, the very fruits you've trusted for decades, thinking they were helping your heart, might now be working against it. As someone over 60, you've probably made all the right choices, swapping chips for fruit, cutting back on fried foods, avoiding excess sugar. You've done everything right, or so you thought. But here's the truth. Your body changes with age. What helped your heart at 40 could be sabotaging it at 70. These shifts are subtle, quiet, and potentially life-threatening. As a heart specialist with over 30 years of experience working with seniors, I've seen it firsthand, well-meaning people unknowingly hurt by healthy habits no one warned them about. In this video, I'll reveal 5 fruits that may be silently damaging your heart, and more importantly, what to eat instead to protect your health, your independence, and your future. Before we dive into the details, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the Senior Life channel. This could be the most important health video you see all year. Fruit 1. Grapefruit. Grapefruit contains a natural chemical called furanocoumarin. This compound blocks a key enzyme in your digestive system called CYP3A4, which your liver and intestines use to break down medications. Without CYP3A4 working properly, medications don't get metabolized. They just sit in your system and accumulate. That's when things go wrong. According to the FDA and Harvard Health Publishing, more than 85 medications are known to interact with grapefruit. The most common ones include statins, like simvastatin, atorvastatin, lovastatin, used for cholesterol, calcium channel blockers, like felodipine, nifedipine, for high blood pressure, antiarrhythmics like amiodarone, for irregular heartbeats, immunosuppressants like cyclosporin, anti-anxiety meds like buspirone, painkillers and sleeping aids like methadone or triazolam. A clinical study published in the British Medical Journal found that just 200 milliliters, a small glass of grapefruit juice per day, caused a 12-fold increase in blood levels of simvastatin in certain individuals. That's 100% higher drug concentration from just one drink. Can you imagine taking a 10 milligrams pill and your body reacts like it took 120? That's not just side effects. That's toxic exposure. When medications build up beyond safe levels, these are the common organs that suffer: heart irregular rhythms, arrhythmias, bradycardia, dangerously slow heart rate, risk of sudden cardiac arrest, brain dizziness, confusion, lightheadedness, increased fall risk, especially dangerous for seniors, muscles. Statin toxicity, muscle pain, cramping, or a serious condition called rhabdomyolysis. Muscle breakdown that can shut down kidneys. Liver and kidneys, elevated liver enzymes. Kidney damage due to overprocessed drugs. Let me give you a real case from my clinic. Joe, 71, from Tallahassee, came in complaining of fatigue and sore legs. He'd been on simvastatin for 6 months. Everything looked fine until I asked about his breakfast. Turned out he was drinking half a glass of grapefruit juice daily because he heard it was good for cholesterol. We ran his labs. His CK levels were over 500, normal is under 200. He was heading towards statin-induced muscle breakdown. We cut out the grapefruit. 2 weeks later, his energy came back. CK dropped. No dose change needed. Practical advice. What should seniors and middle-aged adults do? Here are simple but life-saving steps. Read medication inserts. If you see "do not take" with grapefruit, take it seriously. Use orange or lemon instead. These citrus fruits do not contain furanocoumarins. Switch breakfast juice. Choose pomegranate apple or orange, better for the heart, no interaction. Talk to your doctor. Some meds can be swapped for versions not affected by CYP3A4, e.g. pravastatin, instead of simvastatin. Middle-aged adults. If you're in your 40s or 50s and just starting meds, ask now. Don't wait until side effects hit. Now it's Fruit 2. Mango. One ripe mango has more sugar than a glazed donut, and for seniors it can silently push blood pressure, blood sugar, and inflammation to dangerous levels. I know that sounds dramatic, but it's true. And it's something most older adults simply don't know. Mangoes are often seen as a healthy fruit. They're tropical sweet and full of vitamin C. But what most people over 60 don't realize is that mangoes are one of the highest sugar fruits available. According to data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture (USDA), a single medium-sized mango contains 45 grams of natural sugar, 50 grams of total carbohydrates, a glycemic index (GI) of around 60, and a glycemic load (GL) of 16. That's higher than grapes, apples, or even bananas. In fact, the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition classifies foods with a glycemic load over 10 as high impact on blood sugar, meaning mangoes can cause sharp spikes in glucose even in non-diabetics. When you eat mango, especially on its own, your blood sugar can rise rapidly within 30 to 60 minutes. That sugar enters your bloodstream, triggers an insulin release. And in older adults, the body is often less responsive to insulin. This leads to elevated blood sugar, increases oxidative stress, chronic inflammation, especially in blood vessels, endothelial damage, lining of the arteries becomes irritated, higher blood pressure and risk of clotting. A 2020 study in circulation from the American Heart Association found that older adults with frequent post-meal blood sugar spikes had 2.5 times higher risk of cardiovascular events, including stroke and heart failure. So this isn't just about diabetes. It's about arterial health, brain health, and organ aging. Here's how mango overconsumption impacts the body, especially in aging adults. The heart spikes in sugar contribute to arterial stiffness and plaque buildup. Can worsen high blood pressure due to insulin resistance. The brain sugar spikes are linked to cognitive decline. High GI foods increase risk of vascular dementia, especially after 65. The blood vessels, mango-induced glucose surges promote inflammation of vessel linings. Long-term, atherosclerosis, poor circulation, numbness in extremities. The muscles' high sugar levels reduce nitric oxide, impairing blood flow to muscles, leads to fatigue cramps and slower recovery after walking or exercise. So, do you need to give up mango completely? No, but you need to eat it wisely. Here are my top suggestions for mango lovers over 50. Eat no more than 1 or 2 cup of mango, about 80 grams per serving. Never eat mango alone, always pair with protein or fat in chutney. Yogurt, nuts. Eat mango earlier in the day, ideally before 2 p.m., when insulin sensitivity is higher. Avoid dried mango. It's extremely concentrated and can contain up to 80 grams of sugar per cup. Try lower GI fruits instead: berries, kiwi, green apple, or grapefruit, unless you're on heart meds. Let's move on to dangerous fruit 3, watermelon. Now, I get it, watermelon is refreshing, low in calories, and feels like a guilt-free snack, especially on hot summer days. But here's the thing for seniors, or anyone with heart, kidney, or blood pressure concerns: too much watermelon isn't harmless. In fact, it can tip the scale in dangerous ways. Let's start with potassium, the heart mineral. A 2-cup serving of watermelon, that's 1 standard wedge, contains about 320 to 360 mg of potassium. Now that might not sound like a lot until you realize how easy it is to eat 4, 5, or even 6 cups in one sitting. The National Institutes of Health (NIH) recommends a maximum of 2,600 mg per day for women over 51 and 3,400 mg for men, but that's for healthy adults. If you have chronic kidney disease (CKD) or take blood pressure medications that affect potassium levels, like ACE inhibitors, ARBs, or spironolactone, your safe limit can be much lower, sometimes just 1,500 mg a day. Here's the problem: your kidneys are responsible for filtering out excess potassium. But with age, glomerular filtration rate (GFR), a key measure of kidney function, tends to decline. According to the National Kidney Foundation, nearly 38% of adults over age 65 have some stage of kidney dysfunction even if they don't feel symptoms. When potassium builds up in the blood, it leads to hyperkalemia, which can cause irregular heartbeat, nausea, muscle weakness, tingling or numbness, and in severe cases, sudden cardiac arrest. A 2021 study from JAMA Internal Medicine found that older adults with mild kidney dysfunction who consumed 3,000 of potassium daily had a 42% higher risk of hospitalization due to arrhythmias or heart failure within 1 year. Next, let's talk about sugar. Watermelon tastes sweet for a reason. It's high in natural sugars. A typical 2-cup serving contains 18 to 20 grams of sugar, 11 grams of natural fructose and glucose, a glycemic index GI of 72, a glycemic load GL of 7.2. The GI measures how fast a food raises your blood sugar. Watermelon is considered high GI even though the glycemic load is moderate. Now here's the catch: seniors often have reduced insulin sensitivity. That means their blood sugar stays elevated longer after eating high GI foods. In a study published in the Journal of Gerontology, adults over 60 who regularly consumed high GI fruits had 29% higher rates of cognitive decline due to repeated post-meal sugar surges and inflammation in cerebral blood vessels. And let's not forget sugar pulls in more water into your tissues, which leads us to watermelon is over 92% water. Eating large amounts, especially in combination with increased fluid intake, can contribute to dilutional hyponatremia. This means your blood sodium levels drop because your body is overloaded with water relative to salt. Symptoms of low sodium include headaches, nausea, swelling hands, legs, face, shortness of breath, confusion, in severe cases, seizures or coma. The American Journal of Medicine reported that older adults hospitalized with heart failure and hyponatremia had a 61% higher 30-day mortality rate compared to those with normal sodium levels. Practical advice for seniors and those nearing retirement age: watermelon isn't evil, but moderation is essential. Here's what I tell my patients. Stick to 1 cup per serving, about 150 grams. Avoid eating watermelon in the evening when kidney function is lowest. Don't eat it alone. Pair it with a protein or healthy fat to slow glucose absorption. Avoid if you're taking potassium-sparing meds unless your doctor approves. Monitor for subtle symptoms, especially if you feel off during watermelon season. Fruit for canned fruit. Most people think canned fruit is a healthy option, especially for older adults who may struggle to peel or prepare fresh fruit. But the truth is, many canned fruits are loaded with hidden sugars, sodium, and preservatives that can quietly wreak havoc on the heart, kidneys, and blood vessels, especially in people over 60. Let's look at what's really inside that can. According to the U.S. Department of Agriculture USDA, here's what you'll find in 1 cup of canned peaches in heavy syrup. 39 grams of sugar, that's about 9.75 teaspoons. 150-170 calories. 130-200 mg of sodium. Less than 1 gram of fiber. Now compare that to 1 fresh peach, 13 grams of natural sugar. 60 calories, 0 on sodium. 2 to 3 grams of fiber. Canned fruit often looks healthy on the surface, but nutritionally, it behaves more like a dessert than a fresh fruit. A 2020 report from the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention (CDC) found that added sugars from processed foods, including canned fruit, are one of the top 3 sources of hidden sugar in older adults' diets. And these sugars, when consumed regularly, are linked to increased risk of type 2 diabetes, higher blood pressure, fatty liver disease, and chronic kidney decline. Let's go deeper and look at the organ-by-organ impact based on peer-reviewed studies and real-world outcomes. Heart and blood vessels, Canned fruit is often preserved with added sodium and packed in high fructose syrup. For seniors, this is a double threat. Sodium increases blood volume, leads to higher blood pressure. Fructose contributes to arterial stiffness and insulin resistance. A 2018 study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that older adults who consumed more than 25 cloves of added sugar daily, roughly what's in 1 cup of canned fruit, had a 36% higher risk of hypertension. Kidneys. Your kidneys work hard to filter excess sugar and sodium from your bloodstream. As you age, kidney function naturally declines. The National Institute on Aging (NIA) reports that up to 50% of adults over 70 have some stage of reduced kidney function. When your kidneys are already compromised, a high-sugar, high-sodium diet can accelerate problems such as edema, fluid retention, electrolyte imbalances, worsening of chronic kidney disease, CKD. A study published in the Journal of the American Society of Nephrology found that high-sodium diets in older adults were associated with a 33% faster decline in kidney filtration rate over 5 years. Brain. Many people overlook the brain when it comes to diet, but blood sugar spikes and chronic inflammation from added sugars have been shown to increase the risk of vascular dementia. According to Harvard Health Publishing, seniors with diets high in processed sugars have greater risk of memory loss, slower cognitive processing, depression, poor sleep quality. Practical tips for seniors and middle-aged adults. Here's what I recommend not just for seniors but for anyone 45 plus who wants to protect their long-term health. Always read the label. Look for packed in water or 100% fruit juice. Avoid anything that says in syrup or light syrup still contains sugar, drain, and rinse. Rinsing canned fruit under water for 10 to 15 seconds can reduce up to 30% of added sugar and preservatives. Keep portions small. Limit to 1 to 2 cup per serving, and don't treat canned fruit as an unlimited snack. Add protein or fiber. Pair with Greek yogurt nuts or oatmeal to reduce sugar spikes. Choose frozen when you can. Frozen fruit is often cheaper than fresh and usually contains no added sugar. Fruit 5. We need to pay special attention to dried fruit. Sounds shocking, right? But it's something I see all the time in my practice, older patients trying to eat clean by snacking on raisins, dates, or dried apricots, not realizing the damage it could be doing underneath the surface. Let's unpack why. When you dry fruit, you concentrate everything calories, sugar, and carbs while reducing water content, and in many cases, fiber. According to the USDA National Nutrient Database, here's a direct comparison. 1 cup of grapes, fresh, 62 calories, 15 g sugar, 0.9 g fiber, 1 pour 4 cup of raisins, dried, 108 calories, 29 g sugar, 1.6 g fiber. That's nearly double the sugar and calories in 1.4 the volume. Most seniors don't measure by tablespoons, they grab handfuls, which means they're often eating 40-60 growlers of sugar in a single snack. Fructose. The main sugar in dried fruits is metabolized almost entirely by the liver. Unlike glucose, fructose doesn't trigger insulin at first, but it sets off a metabolic chain reaction, increases triglyceride production, raises LDL, bad cholesterol, promotes fatty liver, triggers uric acid, buildup raising blood pressure, contributes to insulin resistance over time. A 2022 review published in Nutrients, NIH-funded, found that older adults consuming diets high in fructose had a 42% higher risk of developing metabolic syndrome, which includes abdominal obesity, high triglycerides, low HDL, good cholesterol, high blood pressure, elevated fasting glucose. Together, these factors dramatically increase the risk of heart attack, stroke, and type 2 diabetes. Fresh fruit contains water and fiber that slow down sugar absorption. Dried fruit, especially commercial varieties, often have added sugars and little fiber left, particularly if the skins are removed or they're processed. For example, dried cranberries, often sweetened, contain 29 grams sugar per 1.4 cup, but only 1 gram fiber. Dried mango can have 35 grams sugar per 1.4 cup, sometimes with glucose syrup added. Dried dates, natural, but still 65-75 sugar per 100 gram. The glycemic index (GI) of most dried fruits ranges from 55 to 75, and glycemic load (GL) is high due to the density. These sugars hit fast and hard. Per the Harvard Medical School Health blog, repeated post-meal glucose spikes in older adults are linked to increased arterial stiffness, decline in cognitive function, microvascular damage in eyes, kidneys, brain. Let me share a story about Eleanor, 70, from Minnesota. She came in worried about fatigue, brain fog, and sudden weight around her midsection. Her labs showed triglycerides 250 mg/dl, fasting glucose 117 mmHg/dl, ALT liver enzyme elevated, blood pressure 142/86 despite medication. When we dug into her diet, we discovered she was snacking on natural energy bites made of dates, raisins, and dried coconut about 3 to 4 per day. She thought she was doing the right thing. But in reality, each bite had 15 grams of sugar, and she was eating the equivalent of half a cup of dried fruit daily. Once we switched her snacks to apple slices with peanut butter, hard-boiled eggs, Greek yogurt with cinnamon, no fruit. Her labs normalized within 8 weeks, and she said she felt clearer and less bloated. Dried fruit and your heart, brain, and liver. Heart-high fructose increases triglycerides, which the American Heart Association identifies as a strong predictor of heart disease. Promotes inflammation in the endothelial lining of blood vessels. Contributes to arterial plaque. Brain sugar spikes, followed by crashes, reduce mental clarity and focus, linked to higher risk of vascular dementia in seniors, according to the Framingham Heart Study. Liver fructose is stored as liver fat, increasing risk of non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. NAFLD raises uric acid, which contributes to high blood pressure and gout. Smart swaps and real-world strategies for people over 50. You don't have to give up fruit, just choose smarter forms and watch the quantity. If you want dried fruit, stick to 1 tablespoon, no more than 1 to 2x per week. Always choose unsweetened whole fruit versions. No added sugars, no syrups. Eat with nuts or yogurt to blunt the sugar impact. Better daily choices: fresh berries, low GI, apple slices with skin. Kiwi, pear, orange segments. Frozen fruits, same nutrients, no sugar added. Need convenience? Try fruit, plus protein, combos, celery, plus almond butter, half banana, plus cheese, stick, frozen grapes, plus walnuts. So let's take a moment to reflect. Grapefruit might block your heart meds. Mango can quietly spike your blood sugar. Watermelon may overload your kidneys with sugar and potassium. Canned fruit hides behind syrup and sodium. And dried fruit. It's often just candy in disguise. Each of these in the wrong amount or at the wrong time can slowly chip away at your heart, your memory, your energy, and your independence. But the good news is, you can take control. It starts with small, informed choices. A better swap, a smaller portion. A moment to read the label before you open the can or reach for a snack. So if you've learned something today, if this made you think twice, please like this video, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Senior Life for more life-saving information backed by science and made just for you.